God damn it, Montezuma! Civilization bullshit! God. What the hell?
Angry Joe, there's some sort of portal opening up over Earth.
Put it on screen!
Yes, sir.
Oh my God.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkar's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. Brodsky, you're not the smartest. Life out, you're not an artist. Anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he's a man punch, wears a party hat. Linkara, he has a magic gun. Where'd he purchase that? Linkara, coins, robots, Amazons and trucks. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
I hate this thing. I hate this thing more than any other comic I've reviewed. Yeah, I hate it more than Countdown. Yeah, I hate it more than Amazon's Attack. Even the Silent Hill comics I didn't hate as much as this because they were just incomprehensible. But this? If someone created a power plant that ran on hate, my hatred and burning anger for this comic could power the entire world for the next 1,000 years. That is how much I hate this thing and hope to never again be forced to see it or be reminded of it. Of course, the problem is that I am reminded of it all the time, every single time that I look at my comics, particularly the series that actually got me started, but we'll get to that in the final installment of this three-parter. I think right away a lot of the disappointment stems from the creative team. This is beautiful artwork and a critically acclaimed writer. James Robinson is the former writer of Starman, a series from the mid and late 90s that I actually recommend to people to go out and find. Hell, they're still collecting it now in the Starman Omnibus. It's a glorious tale of superheroes, romance, complex characters, and even quite a few tragic moments while celebrating one of the other superheroes that Siegel and Schuster created besides Superman. Robinson could do no wrong as a writer. Well, besides for Comic Book Villains, a movie that seems to hate comic book fans with a passion, but that's a topic for another day. But no, Robinson is not a bad writer. Hell, I started buying his run on Justice League of America because it actually felt like a superhero book. Mind you, it devolved pretty rapidly into crap, but I blame that on a long, boring-ass crossover and editorial mandates about who could actually be on the team, and wow, I just keep getting off track with this, don't I? I really don't mean to, but that's what this comic does to me. There are a lot of factors that go into how much of a colossal failure this is, so let me try to explain this as best as I can. In 2008, it was announced that James Robinson would release a new Justice League ongoing title. Dan DiDio, executive editor at DC, said that the book would be about justice and seeking justice, rather than responding to emergencies, letting the problems come to them, and almost entirely reactive. Robinson later explained that the Justice League is rarely about bringing villains to justice, or even bringing justice to the world at large. They're attacked and they defend themselves, or there's a crime in progress and they go and fight it. My thinking was that if you have justice in your name, then you should do something about bringing justice to people, or bringing villains to justice. And that's the problem in a nutshell. This is a recurring trope in superhero comics, the proactive superhero team. Essentially, what the two said was that the Justice League is an ineffectual organization because all they do is respond to crimes and emergencies when they happen. 1. Yeah, that's kind of how it works. They're not a criminal unless they've committed a crime. And while you can work to prevent emergencies from happening, you can't respond to an emergency that didn't happen. 2. If you're so upset about the creative direction of a series that you publish, Perhaps you ought to think about reworking the premise of that book instead of implying that there's something wrong with a book that you're then saying isn't worth our time. Next, there's that bringing justice to people or bringing villains to justice bit. Let's start with the latter. What exactly do you call fighting supervillains and putting them in jail? Isn't that exactly what you said a second ago was what the Justice League was doing? You can't even stay consistent in the same freaking paragraph! Ah, but that is the problem. Bring justice to the world. What the funkin' wagnall is that supposed to mean exactly? Social justice? Criminal justice? Transitional justice? Let's play college professor here and just say this. Define your terms. Ugh, I'll get into more ranting later when we start hearing the dialogue. More or less, the book started to fall apart as it was being written and even while it was being released. Instead of an ongoing series, it became a miniseries. Instead of a book about a new second Justice League team, yeah, that's worked so well in the past, by the way, it instead became the launchpad for the rest of the DC universe. Much like how Countdown was supposed to define and introduce the stories at that time, Cry for Justice was supposed to help redefine the Green Arrow stable of books, because a bunch of bad decisions there led to a mediocre and facepalm-worthy book that was losing readers fast. Once again, we have editorial mandate to blame for this garbage. But enough of my ranting. Let's dig into Justice League Cry for Justice number 1 and number 2, and may God help us all. I'm reading from a trade here, which I paid full price for. Jeez, I feel sick for having done so. So no looking at the covers. What I will comment on is the logo. I've spoken before about how logos should be unique and awesome. The Justice League logo is great in that classic style of a big organization that's golden and glorious with a superhero shield attached to it. The problem is the Cry for Justice part, specifically the font. I want you all to back away from your computer screens for a moment and glance at the first word. Yes, this series has been repeatedly mocked as gay for justice. Well done, editors. No one caught an easy way for people to make fun of your comic, immature as it may be. Let's first take a look at the introduction by James Robinson. Now, let's give some credit to the man. He freely admits that the book is rife with problems, a lot of which is the changing direction of the book during its publication. To quote him, this book is one of the weirdest and darkest stories he's ever written, and he's not proud of that fact, and he knows that the book gets people angry, but he stands behind it. Admirable, Mr. Robinson. However, that doesn't make up for the fact that it still blows chunks. We open to the orbiting Justice League satellite, where Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern, is talking to the other members of the League. I have something to say. I don't think I can take this anymore. I'm mad as hell and I can't take it anymore. You can tell by the expression on my face. Oh, and by the way, apparently the planet Cyclo just blew up outside since the space next to Earth has a huge purple nebula within it. And how many more of us will be taken? With each crisis, more of us fall. Now Bruce is gone. And Jean. Hal is referring to the events of Final Crisis, where the Martian Manhunter was killed, he's better now, in a pointless fashion to show us a villain in that story was Fosirius, yo. Batman was also apparently killed, but instead he was sent back in time in a story that was a lot better than this one. Superman tries to reassure Hal, but he's despondent about the situation. Begin again, like before, like every other time, doesn't answer one thing. Our name. Justice? The Justice League? Justice for... of what? Well, technically, of America. That's the full name. People just shorten it to Justice League because you do more than help America. We wait for villains to do wrong and then go after them, or we wait for them to attack us. Might have worked then. As I said, diddly durhay, Hal. That is how it works. Criminals have to commit a crime before you can track them down. But these aren't the villains of yesterday, and our being good and true isn't scaring them back into the shadows. Not anymore. Wonder Woman asks what he's saying. I'm saying this will not stand. I'm saying they hurt us, we hurt them back. Okie dokie, Hal. How do we do that? I said, how do we do that, Hal? Well, We have to track down Libra and every member of his secret society of scum. We have to track them all down. All the villains. All the evil. And then what, Hal? Hal? Justice League. Justice Society. League. Society. Community of heroes. Cool. I'll put the coffee on. What about justice? What about love? This is seriously lazy-ass writing if ever I've seen it. We have to track them down. No, really, Hal? I figured the League members were just gonna sit around and play video games all day. I mean, come on. Hal is just bitching for the sake of bitching. And what about justice? Okay, Hal, what's justice? Are you planning on killing them? Torturing them? Maiming and mutilating? There is no answer. The entire foundation upon which this story is built is weak and shoddy. I am the law in Space Sector 2814.
I am the law!
And that includes Earth. Time I stepped up. Someone needs to stop groups like Libras from ever taking flight in the future. Yeah, the last time you had that kind of mindset, Hal, you got possessed by a yellow space bug made of living fear that almost had you destroy the universe. Funny how continuity works. Green Arrow joins Hal because... I have no idea. Yeah, they're best friends, but I have no idea philosophically why he's being this much of an idiot. You want a league. I want justice. A league is a type of organization. You want justice, a metaphysical concept that you can't even properly define. Don't pretend you know what you're talking about! Anyway, the two leave in one of Hal's energy bubbles. I especially love how the rest of the League just stands there, dumbfounded by how stupid the two are acting. It's even better if you think of it like they're the two's parents. Aw, those two little scamps are just overtired. They'll come back in an hour and want a nap. Speaking of, after all their melodramatic lip about justice, suddenly the two were talking about how they should have used the teleporter. I don't know what actual difference it would have made, either way they get back to Earth, and what good buddies they are. Here's another head-scratcher. They're passing through a whole bunch of asteroids on their way back to Earth. Where the hell did those come from? Was the artist under the impression that the JLA satellite was around Pluto, and we're seeing them pass through the asteroid belt? Anyway, the tonal shift from serious business to my wife is gonna kill me is a harsh one of the many problems of this book. We cut to our good old great disaster stopping pal Ray Palmer, fighting alongside Ryan Choi, the new Atom. Or rather, the dead Atom, because DC, in their infinite wisdom, killed off Ryan Choi to kick off their then new series, Titans, Villains for Hire. Yeah, remember way back in my review of Titans #1? When that book reached the 20s, DC split up all the characters and handed it off to a villain and made it about villains. What's better? DC already had a book about a team of villains, Secret Six! The difference being that Secret Six doesn't suck. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off track. The reason I bring all this up is because a scene with the two Atoms fighting side by side is a great one. The two praise each other in narration captions. In a different story, this would have been great. However, it's quickly ruined by how the scene concludes. The two are fighting the perpetually badly dressed villain Killer Moth. Ray Palmer starts interrogating Killer Moth about a friend of his who was recently tortured and killed for information about time pool technology. Killer Moth refuses to talk, but Ray Palmer decides he's got a better way to get information. Have you ever had a sinus headache so torturous you thought your head'd explode? What if I shrank to microscopic size, entered your skull, then began to grow? Imagine how that would feel. Oh God, you're serious. You're heroes. You don't act that way. He's a hero. I'm Ray Palmer. Welcome to pain. So, where do I begin, Let's start with the continuity and character bits first, since that's always exciting, isn't it? Ray Palmer, as we've discussed before, is a scientist. He's not Dirty Friggin' Harry or Jack Flippin' Bauer, who will stoop to torture for information. Supposedly, the impetus for this sudden shift is the death of this friend of his that, as far as I know, we have never seen before and will never be mentioned again. That's superb storytelling right there. It's even better if this character did exist and they just didn't bother to show his death. Way to make a supporting character actually matter, eh? Next, there's the method of torture. Remember Countdown and how Ray Palmer was hiding on some alternate universe Earth? Well, that's because of another miniseries called Identity Crisis that I absolutely hate, which I'll get to eventually, I promise. In that story, Ray Palmer's ex-wife, whom he still loves, murders a friend of theirs. And the method of killing her? Shrinking into her brain and growing slightly. That's right, Ray is now using the same method that his murderous ex-wife used. The same one that made him so emotionally crippled that he retreated into Countdown. Brilliant! And finally, there's the third part of our trio of terrible. I'm Ray Palmer. Welcome to Pain. Do I even need to say anything about this? And in case you're thinking that that was just a bluff, yeah, next page, we immediately see Ray do it. Torturing Killer Moth. Our heroes, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, Killer Moth gives away that the person responsible was a villain named Prometheus. We'll get into him a bit later. Ray tells Ryan Choi to go back to his hometown. Me, I'm taking this all the way to Prometheus's doorstep. I want him to pay. Yeah. Justice! And you yelled that out. Why? We cut to Opal City, where Robinson's Starman series took place. Here we meet McCall Thomas, a former Starman himself, and he goes into a funeral parlor since apparently his boyfriend was killed off-panel due to a supervillain attack. Outside, he unleashes his pain and rage, blowing up a random car and walking away. His words don't have a direct translation to any on this planet, but their meaning does. Justice! Hey, he just cried out, and it was for justice! It's all coming together now! We cut to Africa, specifically the Congo. One of James Robinson's strengths has been taking old, goofy characters and giving a fresh spin on them, and thus we have one of those kinds of things. This is Congorilla, originally a human character named Congo Bill, who got transformed into a gorilla during the Silver Age. His entire tribe of gorillas has been slaughtered, along with another superhero named Freedom Beast. Oh goody, killing off B-list superheroes. That's always a good sign for a comic, right? Anyway, with the death of his friend, Congorilla has the expected reaction. And so issue 1 ends with Congorilla screaming that he wants justice, along with a caption simply saying, Justice. Justice! Now with the fresh scent of pine. Issue 2 opens with Green Lantern and Green Arrow in Gotham. I have a confession to make. I'm pregnant! If it involves you, the Huntress, Lady Blackhawk, and a bottle of grappa, Dinah already told me, and all I have to say is, well played, sir. Implying that two ass-kicking superheroines from Gail Simone's critically acclaimed Birds of Prey series had a drunken threesome with Hal Jordan. Hilarious. James Robinson, man of class, ladies and gentlemen. Fortunately, in a recent issue of Birds of Prey, it was implied that Hal just got drunk off his ass and passed out. Well played indeed. So what's he actually confessing? I don't like Gotham. That's a stupid confession. Actually, I'm lying. You do like Gotham? No, that wasn't my confession. Then why did you bring it up? Truth is, I didn't like Bruce. Again, why did you bring up Gotham as your confession then? Dear Lord, this thing is only 2 pages in, and I already feel like we've been sitting through a ton of padding. Anyway, we cut to Black Hawk Island, where Congorilla, and yeah, I know he wants people to call him Bill in the book, but frankly, how can you go wrong with a name like Congorilla? And Mikal are fighting. After they blast each other for a few panels, they finally stop and talk, realizing that neither of them are bad guys. Again, thanks for the padding. The 2-page spread of the two yelling at each other was totally necessary. What brings you here? My love was murdered. I seek justice. You? My friends. Justice too. Hey, we should start a band. They trade expositions about tracking down who killed their respective loved ones, their trail bringing them to the island. They put together that this was a stop-off point for the murderers, but the trail is now leading to Paris. They decide to team up and take a plane. See, this was all the entire scene needed to be, them meeting on the island and going on the trail. Back in Gotham, the two green heroes meet with Jason Bard, a lesser-known supporting character of the Batman books. He called them because I guess he has a Justice League communicator or something that lets him call Green Friggin' Lantern. Yeah, well, I know this is Gotham, where it's law, apparently, that people conduct every important conversation on a rooftop, but is there a reason we couldn't have met in your office? Don't be rude, Hal. Rude? I'm freezing!
Whiny man.
Bard tells them that there is indeed a reason why they're on the rooftop, then proceeds to say that he's heard on the streets that they're hunting supervillains. How? Did Superman fly off to Gotham and say, you know, Green Arrow and Green Lantern are really gunning for supervillains? Furthermore, this can't be too long after the first issue, can it? Also, they're superheroes. How is hunting supervillains any different from what they do normally? Anyway, he says there's a building nearby with supervillains in it that are waiting for instructions from Prometheus. So, what the hell are they doing on a rooftop, since this information could have easily been given in a warm office and they could have just jumped out a window? Oh yes, and to show how much of a brain trust we're dealing with, the two immediately jump down to go attack the building. On their own. For the record, Prometheus managed to beat Batman and most of the Justice League single-handedly. And now those two are just gonna go charging in, not knowing how many villains are in the building and what sort of power levels they're up against. So why go into such a blatantly bad situation? Well, obviously it's because justice! We cut to the Flash Museum in Central City, where Jay Garrick, the Golden Age Flash, is meeting with Ray Palmer. The museum has been wrecked up pretty badly, and Jay says that 3 guards were killed, showing us... I don't know. I thought the middle was Charlie Chaplin, but he's got the wrong hat, and people on Twitter speculated that the other 2 were Laurel and Hardy, but Hardy usually has a mustache, and Laurel's hair isn't right. Another fan on Twitter said they're supposed to be Winky, Blinky, and Naughty, a Three Stooges homage that used to pal around with Jay Garrick. Oh, goody! More supporting characters dying and off-panel at that. Yay. The two continue to talk and pat out things, Jay telling him he needs to stop blaming himself for all the people who keep dying around him. I tried. I found another world. I even found another Jean Loring. And what happened? Fate reminded me that I'm Ray Palmer. Welcome to pay... sorry, I just have to do that every time I say my name. Ugh, why, James Robinson? Why would you mention Countdown? We're all trying to pretend Countdown never happened. Furthermore, things got screwed up because Bob the Monitor and his band of idiots came and screwed up your life. Not because fate reminded you were Ray Palmer. What a load. Captain Marvel shows up too all of a sudden. Just to really confuse you all, this is actually Captain Marvel Jr., who at the time of this story was the new Captain Marvel, taking over for his mentor. Comics are confusing, especially the bad ones. Anyway, he's come in because he was investigating another high-tech robbery. While the Flash follows up on a hunch, the Atom and Captain Marvel fly off to Gotham, since their trail ends up there too. Back in Gotham, bullcrap! No, I'm sorry, but this is bullcrap! The fight happened off-panel? Plus they did all this without any difficulty? No, I'm sorry, but I can see Black Manta, Scarecrow, and Dr. Polaris in a pile of at least 10 supervillains. I don't care how good you are. Those guys, plus another 7 or so, are still gonna cause problems, no matter how B-list they are. This doesn't make the heroes look like badasses. It makes the writer look lazy for not bothering to show us how they could have won. Ray Palmer and Captain Marvel show up and they say hi to each other. So, what brought you two here? Justice. Justice stays crunchy even in milk. Justice, huh? Funny how that word's everywhere all of a sudden. I hope it doesn't become annoying or something that people can latch onto to make fun of. One of the villains, Javelin, wakes up and tries to throw his namesake weapon at the heroes, but is stopped by the arrival of Supergirl, ending issue 2. These comics suck! The premise is based on idiotic, cliché writing that has nowhere to go when the characters aren't screaming about justice, and what a nice little coincidence that they all happen to be yelling it around the same time. They're violating due process and torturing people! Yeah, I forgot to mention that bit. McCall apparently tortured a guy for information too. The villain of the piece still hasn't actually appeared in the story, and as this goes on, more people will be senselessly killed off. And by the way, people, right away the story betrays the entire concept they were talking about, since all they have done is respond to villainous activity, the exact thing they said they weren't going to do anymore. As this series progresses, more characters will be added and forgotten about, and the heroes will act like idiots and immoral pricks, leading to a resolution that will just make us all feel sick. Dear Lord, I can't wait to get this over with. Tune in next week. Hang on a second. Yes, Angry Joe!
Yeah, Linkara, you said you got captured and held captive aboard a ship one time, right?
Yeah, why?
Oh, no reason. That ship you were on, it, wouldn't happen to look anything like this, would it? How does that look to you?
Vice.